Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Delirium, also on Facebook as Delirium Dirk, but I prefer the first. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is Scared Sober - Delirium Tremens. We're also posting this as a separate channel on the 12 steps. So if you haven't perused over to the Delirium Tremens - Scared Sober, please take a look at that. There's a lot of other videos up there. I think you'll find it very interesting. Some housekeeping real quick. First and foremost, I am not the face of AA. This is not a AA-based series. This is a recovery-based series. I don't care what program you follow, whether it's AA, NA, CAHA, or NEA, or church for that matter. I don't care what your concept of a higher power is, as long as you have one and you know you're not it. These are really the only criteria that any of the programs require. And the program that I choose to follow happens to come out of this little book. And interestingly enough, the only criteria that needs to be met for this program is the desire to stop using, drinking, and willingness. And if you got those two things, you're qualified. So it's very cool. So today we're going to talk about step 4. A lot of people get real hung up with step 4, and as I've stated before, you know, depending on who you have as a sponsor, you kind of know how I work the program and how I work the steps now. If you've seen step 1, 2, and 3, they require a little bit of work and a little bit of action. Some sponsors will say, you know, are you this? Okay, next. Are you that? Are you willing? Okay, you're on step 4. When we never even put a pen to paper, we've never done any work, and that did not work for me for decades. So that's why, again, this is my rendition of how privileged and honored I was to work the steps with somebody that worked them this way with me in the past. And that's putting the effort like we did in step 1, in step 2, and certainly the last 10 questions with step 3. So that brings us up to step 4. A lot of people tend to, quote, relapse, quote, slip. Slip to me means sobriety lost its priority. But they fuck up, and they say they do it on number 4. And they're like, well, okay, how long were you working on step 4? Well, I was on it for 6 months. Okay, well, right there, that tells me, because I've said that to myself, that you weren't doing a damn thing, because I wasn't. Step 4 should take you 2 weeks max. That's my opinion. Some people say it takes them a year. Again, that just, to me, what I hear is I'm not doing anything, because it shouldn't take that much time. If you really want to get serious about getting through these steps, and I do, and I take my guys through them the same way. We spend a maximum of 2 weeks on that, and I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell them, which is the same thing that was told me. Step 4, what is it first? It's making a searching a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. All right, so what is that? It's a list of everything that I can remember back to the earliest memories I have of something that bothered me, troubled me, pissed me off, or created resentment. That's what you're looking for. My sponsors have said to me, the last 2 that I have a lot of respect for, if you think about it, write it down. I mean, it can't hurt. This is for your sake, not for mine, not for his, not for theirs. This is just for you. It's a simple housekeeping. And if you do it thoroughly and honestly, it's not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it's imperative that you're thorough and fearless. For me, the first time I worked the steps, and I mentioned before, I wasn't thorough and I wasn't fearless because I had some things happen to me in my past that I deemed, well, this isn't why I drink and this isn't why I use, so I don't really want to share those with another man. You know, these are things that I find embarrassing or humiliating or whatever. As a matter of fact, I'll even share one with you because it has no power over me. And I'm not the only one that's happened to. I was molested when I was a kid, 8 years old, by neighborhood kids. And is it right? No. Did I ask for it? No. What was my part in it? Not much. Just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But did I share it with somebody? No. And that was one of the few things. And then, well, that was the first thing I wouldn't share. And then that led directly into a handful of other things that, well, I'm not going to share that one, so maybe this one I don't need to share either. And then maybe this one I don't need to share, when in fact it's just important to get everything out. And you're doing this with somebody you trust. So it's not like they're going to tell anybody. If they do, you got a bad sponsor. And hopefully you'll have figured that out by the time you get to this step. So, what it means to me, and what I tell the guys that I work with is really simple. Take step 4 and break it into segments of your life. Say you're 40 years old. I'm close to 50 now, so I broke it into 5. You take what you can remember from basically from 1 through 10. Earliest memories, whatever you can remember, if it bothers you, if it comes to mind. Again, if you think about it, you thought about it, write it down. And just focus on 1 through 10. Take a day to do that. Sleep on it, wake up, write some more, whatever hits you. And stuff will come. And by the way, you're not going to get everything the first time anyway. So, it's not a test, and you're not going to get an A or an F or anything in between. But take that 1 through 10, examine that, think about it, sleep on it, think about it, and get it down on paper. Then look at your 11 through 20. Look at your teenage years. Everybody you can remember, everything that you can think of, everything that trips your trigger, things that pissed you off, things that made you angry, things you didn't like. Get them on paper. Sleep on it, get more. And then you look at 21 through 30, and that's when a lot of us really did some dangerous drinking and using. I know I did. And then it continued from 31 to 40. Same format. You just write everything you can possibly think of. Sit on it, sleep on it, pick it back up and do it again, and then move on. Once you get to whatever period of life you're at, and you've gone back through this, then you start right back at the beginning, and you just try and go back through it slowly and try and think of anything you might have missed. And as long as you're honest with yourself and you're as thorough as you possibly can be, then you've done the stuff as perfectly as you can be expected to do. Every time I work this step with my sponsees, I do my 5th step with them when they do their 5th step with me. That's just the way it was done with me. Again, none of that crap has any power over me today. And my 5th step, my 4th step rather, was about 9 pages long. Yours might be bigger, might be smaller, doesn't matter. Because every time I do it again, I will think of something that didn't make the list the first time. And I've done this now quite a few times, and I'll be doing it quite a few more. So that's the cool thing about the steps, that you never stop growing and learning from them. So once you get through, from your earliest memory to the age you're at, you get it all on paper, you review it, sleep on it again, review it one more time, and guess what? You're done. You're ready. And at that point, that's when we move to step 5, and we share that with God, ourselves, and another human being. God is, of course, the God of your understanding, your own conception of God. I don't care what it is. It can be this rock. It can be that wave, because I can't stop it. I'm powerless over that. That's cool. It can be the group of people in recovery with you. It can be whatever works at your time. And by the way, that conception might change as you evolve and grow in the program too. It certainly did with me. The person that you choose to share it to, ideally, would be your sponsor. It doesn't have to be. It says you can do that with a priest or with somebody you trust. Personally, and again, this is my suggestion only, I would not do that with a spouse or a significant other or a loved one or a family member. Reason being, because they're emotionally tied into the situation. You want somebody that doesn't have any emotion tied into it, any emotional connection whatsoever. That's what works for me. And that's what I've been told, and that's what I believe. Step 4 is one of those things, again, we make the most lengthy effort out of. But in this segment on the steps, it's probably going to be the shortest one we have. When we pick this up and we do step 5, which you can look for and expect to see within the next week, I'll be doing a portion of my step 5 just as an example. And we'll talk you through it. But step 4 and 5 do go hand in hand. They're married. And once you're through that, then some real fun begins. I spent longer on step 6 than I did on step 4. And don't worry, we're going to get to it. So again, this is only a suggestion. This is what has worked for me. By working and completing all 12 of these steps, my obsession to drink and use has been lifted. It has not returned. And I do know this. If I do what I did yesterday, again today, there's a damn good chance I'm not going to drink or use today. And that's the program in its simplicity. And for me, it's a matter of life and death. So I hope you find this helpful with step 4. Oh, and let me point out too, there's 2 schools of thought on this. This book suggests that you do these in columns, okay? Your sponsor will explain that if that's the direction you go. And I've been told by many people, if that's the method you choose, you don't go across the columns. You don't write your name, the name of the person you resent, what it was, and why it hurt you, whether it was fear, whether it was sex, whether it was, there's a litany of things, but it boils down to basically 4 different, human natures that affect us, and that's why we're bothered. And fear for me was number 1 for all of them, including why I didn't share those things. But you don't work across the column, you work up and down. So you list the names as they come to you in that order from the earliest memory through your current. Then you list what bothered you, and then you go back and you try and figure out why. Or your sponsor, depending on the method they choose, will simply have you write it in bullet points. Either way can be perfectly acceptable and effective in my opinion. But again, that's something that you deal with between you and your sponsor. Because ultimately what we're going to do with step 5 is we're going to look at each one of those points, and we're going to talk about what my role was in it. And in some cases, there is none. In some cases, like I said, it's just timing, age. As I grew older, I found that the more I examined it, the more honest I was. I had a lot to do with it. And that's the whole point of doing the housekeeping. So anyway, I hope you find that helpful. I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, we welcome your feedback. If you're just going to go out there and trash stuff for no reason because you've got nothing better to do, I'm just going to delete you, so don't waste your time. But I definitely appreciate everybody's feedback, and this has been a pretty cool adventure. Let's keep it going. Thanks so much, and have a great day.